Welcome, welcome. Chad, how you doing?
Good. How about you, sir?
I'm doing well. Love this. Welcome to Fine Line Fridays. We do this every other Friday where we spend that half hour to work on the business. We're in the trenches every day, right? And this gives us that moment to hopefully discuss some best practices around relevant topics and then pick that apart, maybe implement that in your business. Awesome. If not, you get to listen to me and Chad have a wonderful conversation. So this topic is dedicated to technician growth. And a lot of these podcasts are focused around service and sales, and as we get deeper into other departments, but we're focused on technician growth and what that means. And we were just talking about this too, but ultimately you boiled it down to when a tech comes to you and says, "Hey boss, I need a raise." Does that happen to you, and how often?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been here for 1 year. I've been here for 6 months. I'd like my 90-day review, right? It's all just like indirect ways of how do I get more money.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this topic because it goes right into that when we look at the industry, how long you've worked in the industry sometimes dictates how much money you make, right? How long you've been with a company dictates how much money you make. And I don't necessarily always align to that, right? Because knowledge is invaluable, right? You've been inside commercial roofing for 30 years. I respect that all day long, but it doesn't mean that someone who maybe learned something new, right, or learned a new way to be able to do something 2 years ago can't be equivalent in doing that. So I love today's topic because I think we really need to get into the weeds of raises because I think that's one of the biggest things as technicians become better, whether they're helpers or foremen, they want to make more money. And I do feel I got a process for that, but it has to be structured. So it's going to be fun unpacking that.
Absolutely, and you just hit something there too of the experience in the technical side, and I think there's two things, right? There's the technical side of how much roofing do you know, but then there's also like your way of doing things. Can that technical side align with how we do things? And there was often a big gap. Hiring techs that came from Centimark, they've been there forever. They do things a certain way, and while this tech may be good at TPO or PVC roof systems, how do you apply that into the way that you do things in the general alignment? So we'll get deeper into that. But the general alignment for you as you onboarded new technicians, that period of time where they're acclimating to how you send them work orders and how you expect them to be documented. And of course, the quality of work needs to be there. But for you, when it came to tracking, I don't want to say payroll, but tracking and managing the technicians, how would you best manage the technical aptitude of each technician? We'll start there.
Okay, so the aptitude. So we're talking about skill level. Is that a safe, simple way to be able to say it?
Let's start there, right? Skill level across XYZ, system one, system two, system three. And they come into the company and they're like, "All right, boss, I want 25 bucks an hour." Okay, what do you know? And then you start there. But moving forward, how do you manage what they know to give them a raise?
Understood. And I'm going to back it up even further than that because you hit on a point where we were talking about what do you know? Well, my question is where do you learn it? Right? Because you talked about like Cinemark, right? Cinemark does have their own process. And then we talk about these different companies that specialize inside liquid membranes or coatings. They're going to go up on any type of roof, and guess what? There's a liquid membrane that's going to be applied. They don't know how to heat weld. They don't know how to torch. They don't know how to glue. That stuff is unknown to them. So you have to have a baseline, right, of what your, and I'm going to say foremans in here, what your foremans know, what your foremans are capable of doing. We're always going to have some crews that are better, more versed, or just maybe more comfortable working on certain systems. But you have to have a baseline, and this is unique to each company. To, this is the question I always ask. I call you up, and I have a building 45 minutes away. I don't know what roof is on it. They just told me they had a roof leak. Does your business process support that you should be able to send your closest technician to be able to get on that roof, find the leak, and make a temporary repair? Right? To me, that's always the baseline that my crews are very versatile in all systems. But I think going back to that, aptitude that you talked about is that I know that not because I feel it inside, I was like, oh man, I like this guy. He talks really good. Um, you have to have something set up, right? Inside our interview processes, we used to have them come to the shop and we had heat welding, right? They would heat weld and they would do cold process and they'd use a Leister to be able to get bleed on the modified. And then we'd go through, right? And we'd have them probe their own work. Did they find any cold weld? So like that was the onboarding process that, and I'm talking more foremans. Obviously, if you're talking helpers, you're not going to expect them to show up and heat weld all the time. But creating that standard, I think, was something that was really, really successful on bringing new individuals in and really setting the baseline for what's the minimum floor to be a foreman at, our company.
That's well put. And what that minimum floor means to different companies obviously changes. If you are an all metal contractor, then that floor is going to be different based on
Mm-hmm.
the roofs that you visit. Where maybe you're a Duralast contractor and all roofs you get on are PVC, that floor is going to be different. Where I think you get thrown a curveball is when you are expected to service metal buildings, modified buildings, PVC, TPO, and then residential too. And it's like, for me at least, it was, I got to fix this shingle roof. Who am I going to send? All my guys are commercial guys, or vice versa too. So you ever run into areas, you never get it perfect too, but I love what you said about does your business process support for sending whoever's closer? And can they resolve that within the first trip? Ideally, yes. But did you have processes in place for when they couldn't solve it? And what did that look like?
We always have that unknown, right? The unknown, we don't know what the roof is. We get up there and there's, 3 inches of water. The drains aren't draining, and it's not that the drain's clogged. It's something we got on a plumbing side. Those issues happen, right? And the only thing I really, really wanted is I just needed communication. Most of the people that we brought on board, especially our foremans, right? They were good with their hands. That's how they got the job. They were skilled. They understood how roofs were assembled. They understood how to repair them, and they were good with their hands. Did we have 911 stuff? Absolutely. Right? Did we have kitty litter that we could use at certain times? Yes. I remember taking 4x4s and wrapping 4x4s with TPO, heat welding them to the roof to be able to slow down the water or redirect the water away from where we were working. All kinds of different crazy stuff that happened. But I think that really goes back into those years of experience. So there's a lot to unpack with that. And I think the first place that I'd like to lead this down is the money side, because I think that's probably the most common issue, at least that I've had, is that someone feels they deserve more money. Is that safe to say on your side as well?
Yeah. And how do you manage that too? And where do you base it off of? So let's play through that. Tech comes to you and says, hey, boss, I've been here for a year, like you said in the beginning. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I want my review or I want another. Where are they coming from? And where do they think, why do they deserve that in their mind?
Um, okay, so third person. I want another dollar. One, he learned somebody else got a raise, right? Internal talking. Number two, he got a job offer from another company that was going to pay him a dollar more, right? Or number three, I've been here for a year. Everybody makes more money than me. I deserve it. Someone makes more money than me. I deserve it, right? So there's a bit of a misunderstanding of what technicians get paid for. On my side, technicians never got paid for ultimately how long they worked with us. They got paid for the skills and traits that they knew, right? So like we had heat welding, right? If you can heat weld, that was something that made a technician more valuable to the crew, right? If you were able to go in and diagnose leaks on your own, not saying that I'm going to send them in there solo, but that made him more valuable to the company, right? Was the guy able to use? Did he have a CERTA license torch? That made him more valuable to the company. And when I made ultimately this career ladder, it made it very clear of what they need to do in order to be able to make more money. And the coolest part of it was when someone got hired, and this happens all the time, someone got hired and made more money than them. I no longer had to justify, might still need to have the conversation, but I no longer needed to justify why this guy got hired at $2 more than him. Well, he knows how to torch. He knows how to heat weld. He passed all of those certifications. He knows how to use our application, right? That's a huge thing. All the photos in. All of those things have a value. And what I found is if I just bring clarity and transparency to the process, to be able to say, yeah, you can absolutely make 35 bucks an hour or whatever it is for your region, right? Yeah, of course you can. This is what I need out of you. Then you start building a career ladder, which is just that. It's a career. And that's been the coolest part is that like there's been many technicians and foremans that I still talk to because I'm friends with them. Like I was a part of their journey to get to, where they're at now.
Yeah, I definitely love hearing that. And this career ladder that you talked about, that offers the transparency. It prevents a lot of the uncertainty too. So when someone does come to you, you have that clear. If you do the safety certification, if you learn how to, do water testing properly or whatever it is, then you come back to me and we'll have a conversation. So I think it's a lot preventative too, in the matter of what does that career ladder look like. And I can even approach it from the other side too, from the very entry level position of a helper that the whole goal is that they learn from that foreman. You learn across all systems. You might start at, I don't know, 14 bucks an hour, but then as you provide more value, you're to 15 to 16. Hopefully we put you in your own truck and you get your own helper. But if that helper can see I have a career path, then they're more prone to stick with the company. And same with the foreman. You have a career path, right? And it could even result in ended up moving to sales or moving to account management, although that was kind of rare for us. I never really took a tech and brought him into other departments, but it's possible. So right? So the progression is real. And I think that's how we can solve the is my tech going to leave for another dollar somewhere else problem.
Yep.
Fair.
Uh, and this is just it's a little bit of a sidebar to it, but I had one company I was with where we actually had a substantial bonus if a technician left that crew and got his own truck. So is your foreman building your next foreman, right? Which is his helper, right? And again, you got to figure out what that floor is. What's the minimum floor for someone to be able to come in? But I can tell you, I've worked with many technicians that know how to use the app, that know how to find leaks, that know how to do just about everything that I would expect from an entry level foreman, right? And then when I need another truck, that's when it gets cool because a couple different things happen. Number one, I save a boatload of time, money, and mistakes of hiring other people that I think or hope they know what they're doing, right? Then I can put him inside my new truck. That guy already knows my process. He knows my people. He knows the culture. Like he's just a fit. And then he gets a raise to get his own truck. It's just a really cool process. And this takes time. At no point are you going to say, you know what, I want to implement this tomorrow. It's going to take you a year plus, right, to be able to build a good foreman, depending on what your floor is. But like there's so much cool stuff that can happen when you open up that transparency and you build that career ladder.
Yeah, I love where this is going too. So what does that look like to even start building that career ladder? You probably have parts of it in place today.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of, putting it on paper and making it reality and then talking about it with everyone that's involved. So to me, it could be as simple as like a sheet that has all of what you would expect a foreman to be able to service. Maybe you've got all the certifications on it, and you just track it per foreman, per helper, right? And just start somewhere. Bring them all in, or as you meet with them, or do safety meetings, or whatever it is. Get a gauge, get a baseline. Would you think that's a good place to start, and at least have something or a file on each tech?
Oh, without a doubt. So, and I'll hit two parts on this. Without a doubt, yes, yes, yes. Because I did reviews based upon that career ladder.
Hmm.
So I would look at that and I'd say, all right, you know how to do this, you know how to do this, you know how to do this. Now, my belief as a leader is I'm here to be able to build people. So if you have someone that, for example, needs to get, the certification, cool. Are you interested inside doing that to be able to take the next step? Yeah, you are. Okay, cool. I'm going to connect you with the right people to be able to do it. Right. It was my job because I needed him to be better. right? Whether it was the foreman or the technician, I needed them to be better. So it was my job to be able to give them the resources. They had to put the effort in, right? But to give them the resources to be able to grow. Now, the point that you said is you already have a standard in place. And I'll share something with you guys. My first question, right, or my first documentation on a helper, can you read a tape measure by quarter inches? That was number one. Can you read a tape measure by a quarter inch? Can you use basic hand tools? Do you know safety? Do you put safety glasses on before using a chop saw or before a skill saw or whatever it is? That's what started it. It was literally that simple to be able to say, my bottom line, if you're going to work here, you need to know how to use hand tools and you know how to read a tape measure, right? And there was more to it, but that was kind of
Yeah.
how we started defining what is that floor for a technician.
Yeah, a lot of that exists. It sounds like this the OSHA certification, right? Was the 10, 20, 30 plus? I forget what it was, but some guys had that. They were more valuable. Some guys couldn't, we had some buildings we had to service where security was really guarded. We needed IDs. We needed, OSHA 40s. We needed, whatever it was. So the value add as the techs work upward adds value to the company, adds value to who you service. So I think all of that's true. What about hiring? Because I feel like the fear of techs leaving is something that I talk to a lot of contractors about. They're like, just retainage of current technicians. I feel like if they put this ladder in place, that they could immediately start solving some of the problems that they have right now. Lack of being able to send the right guy out, or just stuff's all over the place. I'm trying to get stuff consolidated so I can process it properly. you
Yeah.
know, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but I had a comment sticking in my head where you bring in a tech who came from another company. It's not like you're going to home grow your own tech tomorrow. It's just like we would all love to be able to do that. There's a shortage of skills in the industry, and I think that's due to a big gap in having people interested in roofing. Let's just call it what it is. The
That's
average
right.
age of a service technician is still 60 years old. Do you see more young people coming in, being interested, having or seeing that there's a career path ahead of them?
That's such a massive question to unpack. I was a part of a group when I was in Ohio. It was called, I think it was We Build America. And it was a specific group of companies that would go into high school and educate, obviously the newer generation that's coming out on skilled trades and the money that you can make in skilled trades and how you can create a business, right? Your own business inside skilled trades. There's absolutely a gap. But the one thing that I do see happening within, I think, some of the better recruiters is that they're starting to use technology to be able to help recruit, right? And not say this is out, and not that you're not going to be on a roof all day, but this is not, pen and paper, old school roofing that you knew. Now we're using iPhones, we're using iPads, we're doing infrared scans, we're now using drones to be able to capture information. There's so much technology that's coming in that's going to press us to have a younger generation. So there's a lot that's coming into that, and that was part of it. If you had your Part 107 as a foreman, which means you had the ability to be able to fly, I have a company that has that as part of their career ladder. All their foremans have their 107, so they can put a drone up, 3D a building, or whatever they need to do. Right? And if that's part of your process, that's beautiful. If it's not, no problem. That's why it's your process. That's why it's yours. But what you're saying about retainage, I normally see a few different areas. So number one is that the tech, the I won't even say tech, the employee wants more and you're not providing it. Okay, the employee wants more and you're not providing it, which means they want to make more money, but you're not paying them more money, and they'll do whatever they have to in order to be able to get there. Don't think overtime. Overtime is costly. Overtime ruins gross profit margin. Do not think overtime. How do you make more money on regular time? Because that's where your profit's at. So do they have it? So they want more and they're not getting it, which means I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to get what you're not giving me. That's number one. Number two is I don't know. And I see this a lot inside younger generations that they just don't see a career ladder. They just don't see, I don't know if I'll be doing this. I started this because I needed a check, man. And they're lost. And it's a really good opportunity for you as a business owner or a leader to be able to help craft that path. Because if that path is not in roofing, I've been in the situation where the individual goes somewhere else and it hurts the company really bad because naturally he's not made for this industry. I'm okay with that, right? But it helps you, it allows you guys to be able to be a leader and help to direct. And then you have the other one that is just head down focused. I know what I want. And all three types can leave your company, right? I want more. You're not giving it to me later. I'm out. I don't know. As soon as Amazon starts paying $22 an hour, I'm probably going to leave and go there. Right? He's not in the trades. He's there. He might be a helper. Use him for what he's worth, but you know that. And then the last one is the one that says, "I'll do whatever I can to make as much money as possible. Just tell me what it is." Right? And that's the person that's driving. And those are the individuals that you model how they make more money. You model, their ambition and what they're accomplishing. That has been the beautiful side of me is understanding who the employee is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense too, and I think a lot of this can be solved by implementing this career ladder. I think that's kind of what we're arriving at. Is if you document your career ladder and you keep tabs on it, um, you're going to have higher retainage. You're going to have clear expectations out of everybody, and it's replicable. It's scalable. You know, a lot of these service departments are reliant on the one person that knows who to send where, right, or knows which person can specifically do which task. And if that's in your systems, then other people can come in and run that and take it over. I do believe in the next 5, maybe 10 years, we're going to see this industry change and have a lot younger technicians come into the mix, and they're being paired with older technicians that know roofing, 20, 30, 40 years of roofing. You know, we just got to get that knowledge from the roofer down to the labor resources. But it's a beautiful thing to see. Roofing is so unique. There's so much opportunity in it. And even just coming out of high school, you can have a whole career right in front of you.
What you said is beautiful. Right? Now, one, you got to get the generations to work together. That's its own thing, right?
Mhm.
But when you do, right, you get the experience with the technology. So your older crew who might be struggling or still learning some of the technology that your guys are using comes really, really easy to the kid, right? So now you can, or whatever, young man, whatever you want to call it. Now you can delegate that, and then it works the opposite way that the guy who's been inside roofing for 30 plus years can now, teach him how to heat weld. Why? Because he doesn't want to be on his knees all day. That's okay. We all got to go through the grunt side at some point, but at the end of the day, he's building that next foreman, right? And there's a cash payout for him if he builds that next foreman. So it all kind of works within this circle. And that's
Does.
a really, really cool thing when you can team that together.
I couldn't agree more. Makes me think of my favorite all-time tech, who I still talk to this day, Brandon. And he came, and he would literally study roofing. You know, he wanted to know everything about every roof system, like manufacturer specs. I'm talking, and he did so good in such a short period of time, and learned all the systems, and was the guy I could send anywhere, right? And he even went as far as to being able to do full inspections, offered more value to the company. He was able to measure so we could bid off of what he measured successfully. Like that's more value right there. So just quick comment there. It's cool to see the younger progression, and as they learn and they want to learn more, there's so much there, right?
And you're right in saying that because I absolutely have favorites, right? Individuals that I love working with, individuals that were, that just understood. But at the end of the day, how they were compensated was based upon the skill set that they had and the value that they had to the company. So like with Brandon, you're talking about ability to be able to do a full inspection on site, like that's value to me. Like that is awesome. versus us having to, send somebody else out there at a later time to be able to do the inspection because he's never learned how to do the inspection or he's never learned how to use the app. That costs us money, right? That costs us time. So again, if you have that laid out that you want your technicians to be able to do site bids, you want them to be able to do inspections, that's beautiful and they should be compensated for it because they're more of a value to the company. So it's feeling is still there, but it's that black and white. As soon as you said like he knew how to do inspections, I was like, that's it. Like that's what we'll pay for.
Yeah, he was great with clients too. Can you take care of the customers, right? Please do
Mhm.
that. Do you have the technical side of being able to solve it, right? And can you gather stuff for me, right? And there's levels to all this. So hopefully this was valuable. I think we hit our mark here, but technician growth. And if you got a couple nuggets, awesome. But we'll be back.
Put it together. The part that I'll end with, guys, is that when I started building that floor with my technician, do they know how to read a tape measure? Can they use hand tools? Okay. Part two to this, don't ever assume. Don't ever assume they can use hand tools, okay? Have something set up where you can actually see them do it, understand it. Tell them to measure a piece of board and cut something at 5 and 7/8. Have them cut it, measure it, see what's real. It doesn't take that long because when you screw that up out in the field, it costs you money, right? And the second part, going into the foreman side, I'm going to say this, and you probably all are going to smile. Do you have a driver's license? Do you have a driver's license? That was worth something to me because I didn't have to pay someone to drive you around. Or I get a leak call at 6 o'clock at night after hours, and guess what? I can't call my foreman. My foreman can't go out there until he gets a driver to come pick him up because he doesn't have a
Yeah.
license. I've been in that world. So those are the things, as crazy it is, a driver's license will make a foreman worth more to me than someone who doesn't. Not saying they'll make more money. Maybe the person who's been there for 30 years that doesn't have a driver's license is amazing at everything else. Great. But at the end of the day, it's those little things like that when you define that floor and then make it transparent to your employees on how you get to the next level. How do you get that dollar? It's not that I don't want to pay you. It's not that I can't pay you. It's that I need you to be more valuable. The more money you bring in is the more that we can, obviously invest into the company. So that's my piece.
Absolutely. Love it. Yeah. Takeaways and actual pieces that you can implement into the business. So love that. And this is a wrap. We'll catch you on the next one.
See you guys.
See ya.